At the close of the 1930s, the world was on the brink of war. Germany and its National Socialists were threatening all of Europe. Italy had designs on the Mediterranean, and Japan sought the total domination of Asia. The United States remained neutral until December 7, 1941, when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. The United States was now part of World War II. With a large portion of the Navy's Pacific Fleet damaged or destroyed at Pearl Harbor, submarines became important offensive weapons. Stationed at bases throughout the Pacific Theater of Operations, the American Submarine Service played a pivotal role in the winning of World War II. Although the submarine service comprised only 2% of the Navy during the war, United States submarines were credited with sinking nearly 1,400 ships, or 55% of all enemy vessels destroyed. The Navy's submarine crews were unique among the services, as they consisted solely of volunteers. Volunteering did not always guarantee admission into the submarine service, but it did create a strong sense of camaraderie. U.S. submarines were called upon to perform a variety of tasks: the delivery of supplies, evacuating troops, rescue operations, and reconnaissance missions. World War II submarines were credited with rescuing over 500 American, Australian, and British downed airmen. Known as the Silent Service, the submarine fleet was renowned for its stealthy maneuvers and was well suited for dangerous underwater missions. Although American submarines were incredibly successful, they also experienced great losses. 52 submarines and 3,506 submariners did not return from the war. Of the 28 Manitowoc-built submarines that saw action in the war, 4 were lost. The Golay, Keat, Lagarto, Robelo, and their crews did not return to port. At the beginning of World War II, Charles West of the Manitowoc Shipbuilding Company accepted a contract to build 10 submarines. Since submarines were among the most complex ships to construct, only a handful of shipyards were qualified to build them. The Manitowoc Shipbuilding Company became a hotbed of activity, reconfiguring its physical plant to assemble submarines, laying the keel of its first, the USS Cobia, on June 18, 1941. Production at the Manitowoc Shipyard became a round-the-clock endeavor. Over 7,000 people were employed to build submarines. The Manitowoc Shipbuilding Company became a city within a city. Launching a submarine into the relatively shallow and narrow Manitowoc River proved to be quite a challenge. Manitowoc Shipbuilding adopted the Great Lakes method of side-launching ships, and on April 30th of 1942, the USS Cobia became the first submarine side-launched into the Manitowoc River. Submarine launchings became grand affairs, drawing large crowds to the shipyard and surrounding area. Soon, United States Navy crews began arriving in Manitowoc to train aboard the subs. The crew sailed them on Lake Michigan, often running sea trials during harsh Great Lakes winters. The U.S. Navy was so impressed with the quality of the Manitowoc Shipbuilding Company's work that it awarded the Navy E for Excellence 5 times for its submarine production. After commissioning at Manitowoc, submarines would sail to Chicago under their own power. They were then placed in a specially designed dry dock and pushed by towboat through the Chicago Sanitary Canal to the Illinois River, down the Mississippi River to New Orleans. In New Orleans, submarines were armed, then sent on their own power from the Gulf of Mexico through the Panama Canal to the Pacific Ocean. Like most successful submarine designs of the 20th century, World War II submarines submerged through the use of ballast tanks and bow and stern planes. When ballast tanks are full of air, a submarine is buoyant. But when air is removed and the tanks are filled with water, the submarine sinks. Bow and stern planes act like wings that control the rate of descent by creating a resistance to the water moving around the submarine. This also aids the submarine in reaching the surface from deeper ocean depths. Torpedoes were the primary and most powerful weapons of the Navy submarines during World War II. Once the target's range and bearing were determined, the torpedo's internal gyro compass would be set. The torpedo would be ejected from the torpedo tubes by a blast of compressed air. The gyro then steered the torpedo towards the target. To conserve each submarine's stock of torpedoes, the Navy required submariners to use deck guns against small, poorly armed, or badly damaged vessels. USS Cobia, a Gato-class fleet submarine, was very similar to those built in Manitowoc. The Cobia was built by the Electric Boat Company in Groton, Connecticut, and headed into the Pacific Theater in June of 1944. During her 6 war patrols, Cobia was credited with sinking over 20,000 tons of enemy vessels, including 9 merchant and 4 military vessels. Often the pursuer, in May of 1945, the Cobia became the pursued.
Now that 8-hour depth charging on Mother's Day 1945, we came awfully close to it, didn't we?
But we did fire 5 torpedoes, I believe it was 5. And then we went into an emergency dive. Well, we were on a pretty steep dive, and this escort came over us and dropped depth charge and knocked us to the bottom of the ocean. 120 feet, I think it was.
We wound up about 20-some foot into the mud.
We were stuck in the mud. Of course, they knew where we were at, and they'd come back and forth and drop a couple. Of course, you could always hear them. You'd hear the click for it arming, and then they'd go off.
The depth charges couldn't get underneath it. If they could have got underneath us, they could have blew us to the surface, because that's what they usually tried to do, and they couldn't get underneath us. They'd drop them into the mud, and bam, 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 the way they go.
I thought they had us.
I think the only reason he quit is because he probably ran out of depth charges.
After World War II, the battle-tested Cobia returned to Connecticut, where the Navy decommissioned her on May 22, 1946. In 1951, Cobia was recommissioned for submarine school training and war maneuvers in the Korean War. In 1959, the Navy moved Cobia to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to serve as a training platform for the United States Naval Reserve. Thanks to the efforts of the Manitowoc Submarine Memorial Association, USS Cobia was relocated to Manitowoc on August 17, 1970. In 1986, Cobia was designated a National Historic Landmark due to her historic significance to the United States, a fitting reward for a deserving ship. Dedicated as an International Submariners Memorial, the Cobia commemorates the immeasurable contributions of the men and women who built submarines and the men who served on them. Each year, submarine veterans, their friends, and families return to the Cobia. Friendships are rekindled, and old stories are shared again. From all across the country, there is another group of dedicated individuals that come to the Wisconsin Maritime Museum to assist with the restoration and maintenance of USS Cobia.
It's in remarkably good, clean shape. This museum has done a terrific job in restoring the submarine to what it looked like back in 1945 and 46.
Thanks to their dedication and hard work, Cobia's visitors can now see an authentic World War II submarine, learn about an important period in American history, and salute those who have gone before us.